From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubani.
Tonight, federal government says ongoing industrial action by university lecturers will end soon as both parties resume negotiations tomorrow. Gale of defection to opposition parties by APC lawmakers rattles the party leadership as the national chairman meets members of the National Assembly. An out-of-court settlement arrangement on a suit on the welfare of Nigerian judges collapses. National Judicial Council describes case as an international embarrassment.
On business news tonight, African Development Bank calls for strong investments in the youth at the 2022 Commonwealth Business Forum.
On sports news tonight, German champions FC Bayern Munich unveil new signing Sadio Mane from Liverpool FC in a 3-year deal worth up to £35 million.
And from Abuja, the Inspector General of Police approves the deployment of more police mobile force personnel to boost security on the Abuja-Kaduna highway.
And in international news from London, a Taliban official says a powerful earthquake has killed at least 1,000 people and left hundreds more injured in Afghanistan.
If the assurance by the federal government is anything to go by, then students and lecturers of tertiary institutions should be quite optimistic, as the government has once again promised to resolve the dispute with Academic Staff Union of Universities soon. That assurance is coming from the Minister of Labour and Productivity, Mr. Chris Ngige, during a briefing after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by the President, where he noted they will find closure to the impasse before the end of the current administration. Our State House correspondent, Gloria Omezuke, reports.
Hours before a scheduled trip to Rwanda, President Muhammadu Buhari presides over the Federal Executive Council meeting with no less than 6 ministers physically in attendance. The lingering face-off between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, culminating in a 4-month-old strike, is once again illuminated.
If ASU and other unions in the university system want to comply with the labor laws of the country, the land, once I have apprehended a dispute and brought it to my table, you return to what is called status quo ante bellum. You go back from war and start teaching your students while this is work in progress. So even as they have abandoned their jobs, all of them, and the children are at home, discussions and work is still going on. It's work in progress. It will be resolved, and very soon. Why it will be resolved is that it's the same pattern with that of the health sector.
The federal government, according to him, has scheduled a meeting with ASU on Thursday, June 23, for further deliberations. He is, however, quick to underscore that the federal government is not planning a different payment table for all trade unions in tertiary institutions.
We know also that once you do it in the universities, the polytechnics will come. We also know that the colleges of education will come, the whole educational sector. We are not afraid of handling it because government will do the needful. They have to do within the available resources they have.
By the same token, the Minister of Information and Culture equally announced that the council had approved 18 billion naira to Yobe State, bringing the total amount disbursed to 24 state governments to 447 billion naira for expenses incurred on federal government projects.
These claims were not based on what they did on our behalf, but what they did in previous administrations. And honestly, without the federal government bailing out most states would have gone under.
Separately, the Federal Executive Council approved the opening of employment and job creation portals aimed at documenting the number of job vacancies and skills of job seekers in the country and, by extension, Nigerians in the diaspora. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari is in Kigali, Rwanda, to participate in the 26th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting after departing Abuja earlier today. The president is expected to join the discussions focused on the progress and prosperity of the more than 2 billion people living in the 54 independent countries that make up the Commonwealth. A theme for the event is delivering a common future, connecting, innovating, transforming. Heads of government are expected to reaffirm their commitment to upholding the Commonwealth Charter, which focuses on democracy, among others. President Buhari will also attend the official opening ceremony on June 24th, followed by high-level meetings of heads of state and government, where he is scheduled to deliver remarks at the high-level session on health and participate in intergenerational dialogue for youth, then hold bilateral talks with other leaders. Back home, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, today met with the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, at the private residence in Port Harcourt, the state capital. Both men, who met behind closed doors, did not speak on the essence of the meeting, as journalists were not granted access to the meeting. Mr. Obi was a member of the PDP before he defected to the Labour Party to pursue his presidential ambition. Governor Wike, on his part, was one of the presidential hopefuls of the PDP, but lost the election to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who clinched the party's ticket. Mr. Wike did not also make a slot for the position of running mate after Mr. Atiku opted for Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State, a situation which appears to have created some Cold War among party members. Meanwhile, the governor of Bauchi State and former presidential aspirant of the PDP also visited Governor Wike, and both visits come 4 days after the Ebonyi State Governor, Dave Umahi, also met with Governor Wike behind closed doors in Port Harcourt. A gale of defection from the All Progressives Congress, the APC, to opposition parties, especially among lawmakers, has raised concern in the leadership of the ruling party. A development that has necessitated a visit to the National Assembly by the national chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, where he met with senators behind closed doors to express his concern. Speaking to journalists after the meeting, Senator Adamu says the party is worried about the trend.
In every election year, this kind of sub-step, give cause for people, stakeholders to sneeze. This is what we're experiencing. Nigeria is no exception, and the APC is no exception. I don't give a damn what's happening in other parties. I care what's happening in our party. But you and me know that it's not just the APC that's having this experience, this situation. Because we are the ruling party, yes, our problems are more prominent in the public glare.
Are you worried about people leaving and abandoning the party? Are you worried about that?
No reasonable person, no responsible leader will not worry losing one member, not talk of 2 or 3. At the moment, we know we are faced with the stark reality of their problems. And we have committed with my colleagues in the National Working Committee to face the problems squarely and see the problems that are solvable, we'll solve them by the grace of God.
More politics. The Ekiti State Governor-elect Biodun Oyebanji and the Deputy Governor-elect Mojisola Afuye have been presented with their certificates of return by the Independent National Electoral Commission following their victory at last Saturday's governorship election. During a brief ceremony at the INEC State Headquarters in Ado-Ekiti, Mr. Oyebanji said the election was historic and shows that the people appreciate the APC-led government. INEC National Commissioner Mr. Sam Olumekum explains that it is satisfied with the conduct of the polls.
To be dedicated, I thank you all for investing your trust in us, in our party. What is happening today is historic in Ekiti State. This is the first time that a government is succeeding itself. And I am able to say that this is made possible by the stellar performance of the government, because June 18 was a referendum on government of the pioneer as government president, and the state came out and validated the fact that he has done so well.
The uniqueness of this election is relative absence of violence and widespread talk during the poll. The turnout during the election was equally comparatively better than the previous elections. May I use this forum to call on Nigerians to be alive to their civic responsibility by coming out to vote for candidates of their choice during the elections.
Meanwhile, the Social Democratic Party has raised objections to the exercise by rejecting the result of the just concluded Ekiti state governorship election. During a press conference in Abuja, the governorship candidate of the party, Mr. Shegoni, says last Saturday's poll was allegedly characterized by irregularity and massive vote buying by the ruling APC across the state, and promises to seek redress at the Electoral Tribunal.
This country belongs to us, all. And we should do everything to rescue it from the hands of desperate people who would do anything, stop at nothing, to rip it off for personal gains. What we saw in Ekiti, I don't need to describe it over and over again. It went viral. I believe this is not where elections should be. This day and age, we are in year 2022. I believe that the decision of our party to take it further is the best thing, is the most patriotic, and Nigerians should support us to do this, because this fight is not our fight alone. It is a fight for democracy. If we allow democracy to be butchered and bastardized, Nigeria will be the biggest loser.
Citizens who have not registered for their permanent voter cards may now heave a sigh of relief, as the chairman of the House Committee on INEC, Aisha Tuduku, has informed federal lawmakers in the House of Representatives that the Independent National Electoral Commission will extend the continuous voters registration. She stated this while reporting back to the House after being directed last week by the Speaker to interact with the electoral umpire on the matter. The Speaker's directive followed a motion on the need for INEC to extend the exercise and not disenfranchise willing Nigerians.
Based on the referral to our committee, and we felt it was urgent, so we invited INEC, and Professor Mahmoud Yakubu was with us throughout yesterday afternoon, and part of what he agreed to was that he has already agreed to extend, but for the court injunction, he is to appear on the 29th of June. That notwithstanding, it has become, he said it has become imperative that it has to be extended, and not just extending, but also additionally, it will be done even during weekends. He has agreed to that, and he is going to make statement, inshallah, very soon to that effect. So that extension also involves additional machines, additional ad hoc staff, and of course, he's going to collaborate with the security agencies to make sure that that is also done.
In part two, after the break, National Judicial Council describes suit on welfare of judges as an international embarrassment. Do join us again. Welcome back. If it has joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Federal government says ongoing industrial action by university lecturers will end soon as both parties resume negotiations tomorrow. Gale of defection to opposition parties by APC lawmakers rattles the party's leadership as the national chairman meets members of the National Assembly. An out-of-court settlement arrangement on a suit on the welfare of Nigerian judges collapses. National Judicial Council describes case as an international embarrassment. And at least 1,000 people are killed, hundreds more injured following an earthquake in Afghanistan. Efforts to have an out-of-court settlement on a suit seeking salary increase for Nigerian judges appears to have fallen apart. At the resumed hearing on the suit instituted by a senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Sebastian Hon, at the Industrial Court, the National Judicial Council said it's unprecedented and an international embarrassment for the issue of judges' welfare to become a subject of litigation.
About 30 senior advocates of Nigeria and the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Olumide Akpata, were at the National Industrial Court, Abuja, for the hearing in a suit seeking a general upward review of wages for Nigerian judges instituted by Sebastian Hon. Senior lawyers are seen discussing in groups, probably putting final touches to their arguments. At the resumed hearing, counsel for the plaintiff, Mr. Adegboyega Awomolo, told the court that the Attorney General of the Federation had served counter-affidavit and preliminary objection to the suit, and efforts to get the National Assembly leadership to resolve the matter out of court has no positive outcome. This, according to him, indicates that the June 6 proposed out-of-court settlement has collapsed.
It is the National Assembly Council who told the court that it is desirable and worthwhile for the parties to settle amicably. But unfortunately, there was no serious move.
The London Attorney General of the Federation filed a counter-affidavit to our suit, but we have also filed a further affidavit exhibiting press statements where he said that the judiciary is not well funded and the judges are not well paid.
However, counsel to the NJC asked the court to grant him an adjournment to enable him file necessary processes. He also speaks on the importance of the suit.
We are even in court on a matter of this nature where there are agitations to have the remunerations of judges and justices having to be by way of compulsion by the court is an international embarrassment.
Other senior lawyers who were in court say the public outcry by Supreme Court judges is extraordinary and in bad taste.
Very unprecedented that justices of the Supreme Court will come out to express their disgust with the system. And I think all of us are worried.
I have said, and I am saying here, that the leadership of the legal profession, the Body of Benchers, the Nigerian Bar Association, the Body of Senior Advocates of Nigeria must do something. If we fail to do something, sooner than later we are returning to a state of nature where the mighty will be right.
In a brief ruling, Justice Obaseki Osage granted the adjournment request by the NJC and fixed June 28 for hearing of the suit.
Let's get more news now from Linda Kibe. She's in our Abuja studio. Hi, Linda.
Hello, Amarachi. To security issues. As part of efforts to ensure adequate security of lives and properties on the Abuja-Kaduna Highway, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Usman Alkali Baba, has approved the deployment of additional personnel of the Police Mobile Force to the route. The Commissioner of Police in charge of Police Mobile Force, Mr. Matthew Akinyoshola, urged the policemen to be civil but firm and deal decisively with all persons threatening the peace and security of the nation. He was addressing the personnel at the force headquarters in Abuja shortly before their deployment.
The morale is high as officers and men of the Nigerian Police Mobile Force prepare for deployment on the Abuja-Kaduna routes. The Commissioner of Police, in charge of Police Mobile Force, addresses the men on the need to be professional. The team departs Force Headquarters in Abuja with an aerial cover from the air wing of the police. Leader of the team gives reasons for the deployment as he assures motorists of regular patrol.
You may recall, precisely on the 28th of March 2022, there was a train attack by terrorists along Abuja-Kaduna Road, thereby disrupting the rail transport. So the IGP, now that it is only the road that is going to be used for transportation, initiated this patrol, and we have been on it right from that 28th, on the 29th to date. We have been on that patrol. Just want to assure them that Kaduna-Abuja highway is safe. They can travel at any time of the day. The patrol teams are around. When we are passing, you can see patrol teams at Regina, the gun trucks, patrol teams at Katari. Immediately we close from this patrol, they will now take up from where we stopped.
Some motorists share their experience flying the Abuja-Kaduna highway.
Well, for now it's okay. We don't have any hitches for now because I passed here on Friday and there was no issue, and I'm passing again today. From where I'm coming from, I have not had any issue. So at least there is a little improvement, and we pray for God for us to have more improvement in our security situation in this country.
The road they bad, well for the risk. The security they tight small, not be too much small, but they too much small.
A regular patrol of the Abuja-Kaduna highway by the police mobile force, backed by the air wing of the police, is expected to ensure that it will no longer be business as usual for bandits terrorizing motorists and villagers along that route.
To the National Assembly, the Senate is working on a legislation to regulate the procedure of in vitro fertilization, IVF, in the country to guard against abuse and make provisions to address the legal voids in the process. The upper chamber is also finalizing the legislation to create a national commission for the eradication of child destitution in the country, a menace that accounts for a number of vulnerable children across the country. If the country is to make any meaningful economic growth in the nearest future, it must become export competitive, build its domestic resilience, and come up with creative ways to serve its growing debt profile. This position was shared by the keynote speaker at the 2022 annual public lecture of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, Professor Bongo Adi, a professor of economics and data analytics of the Lagos Business School. The yearly lecture was held at the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Center in Abuja. Our correspondent Kayla Megwa reports.
Thank you very much. The Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, is the only professional body authorized in Nigeria to conduct the examinations leading to the qualification of chartered secretaries and administrators. It is a body dedicated to enhancing the statement and practice of corporate governance and public administration in Nigeria, and it is holding its annual conference here in Abuja. This year, the Institute is focused on Nigeria's external reserves, and the president of the Institute states that managing and growing external reserves is a global problem.
It's something that is affecting the entire world. Every economy talks about their external reserve. So how well do they manage their own? What are the challenges that we are facing about our own? Could there be other ways of managing our own external reserve towards ensuring that it delivers dividend of democracy?
According to the Central Bank of Nigeria, the external reserves rose from $38.4 billion on June the 6th to $38.6 billion on June the 10th in 2022. Experts believe that as forex demands increase, the naira will most likely continue to depreciate And as the keynote speaker at this event has made clear in his address, Nigeria is not fully benefiting from higher oil prices due to a plethora of reasons, including Nigeria's import dependence and a lack of domestic resilience.
Domestic resilience, from my point of view, is the ability to compete with the rest of the world, the ability to gain some strategic trade advantage over our trading partners. As it is right now, we are simply dumping ground for all manner of stuff from every part of the world.
He proffers solutions to what he believes will ensure actual economic growth.
If you look at the growth in our GDP, most of it is actually consumption driven, which means it is a nominal thing. It is not adding much value. The key things that will create sustainable long-term, that is long-term growth, is what? Investment and the external sector. Investment and the external
The discussions at today's event are very solution-based, and like a lot of the speakers have said, whatever administration comes into power next has its job cut out for it, coming up with long-term, out-of-the-box solutions to the challenges facing Nigeria's external reserves, and they're hoping that that administration has the political will to get it done. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, African Development Bank calls for strong investment in the youth at the 2022 Commonwealth Business Forum. That's in business news. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. Some company news now. One of the leading producers of the nutrition value chain, Fan Milk Danone PLC, has commissioned a backward integration model dairy processing farm in Odeda, Ogun State. The facility is made up of a training center, milk collection center, and a Molo dairy farm to raise the level of milk production. The management of the company commends the state government for its partnership towards ensuring development and food security.
A serene environment at Fan Milk Danone Model Dairy Farm located in Odeda Farm Estate owned by the Ogun State government. The modern dairy project is a partnership venture with the state government, and this informs the reason for this gathering.
We started this project by behaving that is going to take us like 2 years and a half, but actually in less than 1 year and a half we have been able to complete it. With 100 cows, that is going to produce average 15 liters of milk per day per cow, and this of course it's not even 2% of our need.
Executive Governor of Ogun State.
The governor of Ogun State is here with members of the State Executive Council, the French ambassador to Nigeria, partners and other dignitaries to identify with the success story.
This project is actually the perfect combination, a model combination of several ingredients. As you said, passion, commitment, and especially partnerships.
The governor of Ogun State, Dr. Abiodun, has some mutual cooperation to all concerned.
We'll continue to reap outcomes in terms of more job creation, food security, nutrition, sustainability of industries, security, and the overall well-being of our people.
With a target of training 500 dairy farmers in the next 5 years, Fan Milk PLC says the project is a clarion call to backward integration in dairy production.
Our model dairy farm is an initiative to raise the level of local milk production, reduce the huge import bill for milk, and also to create jobs for the host community.
We cannot do alone. We need institutions, we need investors, and we know that here in this room, the most important are present today.
To the benefit of all of Nigeria.
Next, dignitaries joined Governor Abiodun for the commissioning of the facility and rounded off with a tour of the Dairy Farm Institute, which houses state-of-the-art cutting-edge laboratory, a training center, feed storage and milk collection center, where a cow is meant to produce about 1,500 liters of milk per day.
And Anchor Insurance Company Limited has again taken a move to provide succor for air travelers within Nigeria by launching a retail package known as Local Passengers Flight Welfare Scheme. At the launch ceremony in Lagos, the managing director of the frontline underwriting firm said the single product, which has been approved by the National Insurance Commission, is to meet passenger legal liabilities and compensate for losses encountered by passengers.
Domestic passengers within the departure hall of the local airport as they complete their boarding formalities. This group of passengers are target consumers of the latest products from Anchor Insurance Company Limited.
The main purpose of the Local Passengers Flight Welfare Scheme, which essentially is in single product, is to meet all passengers' legal liabilities, compensate for losses encountered by passengers, including baggage delay, mishandled baggage, and loss of baggage.
The company believes this is a perfect opportunity to bring its well-known customer-centric finesse to bear in driving the product to real success and for the maximum benefits of its potential customers.
It's going to be attached to your payment, and it's usually 1,000. Then the loss of baggage delay, we have 25,000 that we pay for that. Then we have loss of baggage, 75,000.
There are benefits from this insurance product. This includes medical expenses of up to 50,000 naira for passengers who suffer any injury as a result of an accident while boarding or on board an aircraft. Children aged 0 to 3 years are covered by their parents' policy. Industry experts are optimistic this will be a game changer.
I believe in this product. At this period where a lot of people want to fly rather than travel by road in Nigeria, this product will do a lot of good to people who are traveling by air by taking care of the things that other insurances are not taking care of. You can trust Anchor Insurance when it comes to insurances.
I think it's quite affordable. It's a welfare scheme, and of course these benefits are additional to the limits that by regulation NCCA require all airline operators.
When all is done, an individual policy will terminate from the point the passenger collects or takes ease of luggage at the arrival hall of the destination airport.
Nor Takaful, the pioneer composite Takaful insurance firm in Nigeria, has commenced the distribution of surplus payment to qualifying participants who took up various general and family insurance covers between January and December 2020. During the flag-off ceremony in Lagos, the chairman, board of directors of the company, Mukhtar Bakari, explained that the move is in line with the company's commitment to promoting ethical insurance in Nigeria, as over 200 policyholders would receive surplus payment of over 100 million naira.
36 million naira.
Nora Takaful Insurance Limited hosts policyholders and other stakeholders to what is becoming an established tradition of the company, the annual surplus distribution ceremony, for the 4th consecutive year. For the first time, the company is distributing surplus to over 200 participants in its general and family Takaful packages. The chairman of the company is delighted that its model of insurance is paying off for the underinsured in the post-COVID-19 economy.
On the rubble of the most recent devastation, we can now begin to build with some confidence new ways of creating, distributing and preserving wealth that are more ethical and more inclusive, driven less by selfishness and greed, but more by mutual trust and collaboration.
Participants get paid whether they made claims or not within the 2020 business year. In context, it suggests that all claims have been paid, reserves have been set aside, and the surplus is distributed among qualified participants on pro rata basis.
In several years, there were questions being asked by participants that have been paying premium every year and have not been able to enjoy anything from this insurance policy. When am I going to enjoy? So the Takaful model has provided solution and answer to that. That okay, that's why we call it a win-win thing. Your win-win insurance. If you sustain a claim, we settle your claim. If you do not have a claim within the insurance period, then you enjoy from what we call surplus distribution. So that is one of the mission of the Takafu model. Particularly, we're looking at the younger generation. We understand and we know that the younger generation have the highest population in the country. So what we're trying to do is see how we can use technology to appeal to the younger generation, make them have trust and confidence in insurance and Takafu particularly.
Established and licensed by NICOM in 2016, Nuru Takafu Insurance Limited is a composite, non-interest Takafu insurance operator in Nigeria. The company says it aspires to provide a better alternative insurance for all Nigerians, where all the participants shall benefit from the various innovative and ethical products and services.
Business News now is Anwar Wudu.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Marachi. Hello and welcome to Business News. The African Development Bank, AFDB, has called for strong investment in young people on the continent. The AFDB president, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, made this known at the ongoing 2022 Commonwealth Business Forum in Kigali, Rwanda. The forum is the first and largest in-person gathering for governments and businesses across the Commonwealth since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to him, the future of the Commonwealth must be well shared across its 54-nation family, youth-driven and climate-resilient, and equitable access to vaccines. The fight to curb the importation and use of substandard products seems to have recorded another win, as operatives of the Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, have seized and destroyed fake tires, electrical wires, gas cylinders, and engine oil worth about 600 million naira. According to the Director General of the Standard Organization of Nigeria, the fight against fake and substandard products can only succeed if the parastatal is allowed to carry out searches at the port of entry, as it's permitted by the Nigerian Constitution. Well, let's talk about latest reports coming from the Central Bank of Nigeria. It shows the total credit in the banking sector rose to 25.25 trillion naira, and that number is at February 2022, coming from 21.13 trillion naira it recorded in February 2021. The report states that non-performing loans reflected the case-by-case review of regulatory forbearance effects on the global standing instruction policy and sound industry risk management practices. But a member of the CBN Monetary Policy Committee, Kingsley Obiora, says the banking system maintained its resilience amid economic recovery. We head to the equities market now, where sustained bullish momentum in today's trading session continued. Will Ibong has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Yes, the NGX was able to sustain positive trend from yesterday after snapping its losing streak, thanks largely to bellwethers MTN Nigeria and Dangote Cement. The all-share index rose further by 0.56% with an additional 153 billion naira gained in market value. However, the sectors didn't deliver an upbeat tone, as most key indexes closed in the red, except for the consumer goods counter, which was boosted by Presco. Presco made significant gains today, rising 9.71% and adding 16 naira 20 kobo to its share price to close at 183 naira. We also see Ella Lakes, still in the agricultural business, pulling a 10% gain, and moving to the financial sector, FBN Holdings taking a breather from losses. But we can't say the same for Northern Nigeria Flour Mills, that it claimed the #1 spot for losers. The question now is this a bounce back to believe in, or is it a rebound that investors should approach with caution? Tomorrow will tell. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Will Ibang. Back to you.
Thank you, Will. Let's check out closing numbers from other major markets around the world. And that's business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. The rest of the news at 10 continues with Amarachi.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Anne. And back to judicial matters. The Nigerian Bar Association has reacted to the received or perceived rift between the Chief Justice of Nigeria and Supreme Court justices, saying there is an urgent need for fundamental reforms of the administration and governance of the judiciary. In a statement by the President, Olumide Akpata, the NBA describes the conditions highlighted in the letter written by 14 justices of the Supreme Court of Nigeria to the CJN and the subsequent response of the CJN as disheartening and unfortunate. Mr. Akpata notes that with the current election season, the only way to insulate judges and justices from the temptations of being corrupt is to assure them of decent working conditions and adequate compensation both in and out of service. At least 1,000 people have been killed, hundreds more injured following a 6.1 magnitude earthquake in Afghanistan. The Taliban, which rules the country, says hundreds of houses were destroyed and they expect the death toll to rise. Salman Pusey has more.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A Taliban official says a powerful earthquake has killed 1,000 people and left hundreds more injured in Afghanistan. Footage shows landslides and ruined mud-built homes in eastern Paktiva province, where rescuers have been scrambling to treat the injured. A Taliban leader said hundreds of houses were destroyed and the death toll was likely to rise. It is the deadliest earthquake to strike Afghanistan in 2 decades. The head of information for Paktika province said at least 1,000 people had died and 1,500 are injured. Rescue teams are still searching for others buried under the ground. Russian and Russian-backed separatist forces in the Donetsk region of Ukraine have suffered heavy casualties. That's according to UK intelligence officials. They estimate the Donetsk militia alone has lost 55% of its original force. Ukrainian leaders say Russian forces are now focused on conquering all of the neighboring Luhansk region. The situation in Severodonetsk is reportedly particularly dire, with the mayor there saying that 7,000 to 8,000 civilians remain. Hundreds of thousands of people in China have been evacuated in several southern and eastern provinces after unrelenting rains caused floods and triggered landslides. 2 provinces upgraded flood warnings on Tuesday as rivers overflowed and floodwater levels broke a 50-year high. Videos on state media show cars being washed down streets and people being rescued by ropes across swollen rivers. Officials say the area is seeing its highest rainfall since 1961. Meanwhile, authorities in Bangladesh have intensified efforts to deliver food and drinking water to millions of people struggling after heavy rain unleashed catastrophic flooding across a quarter of the country. Air Force personnel airdropped emergency humanitarian relief to supply drinking water, medicine and food. Aerial footage showed large swathes of farms and villages submerged in floodwater. At least 17 of the country's 64 districts are reeling from the natural disaster. Authorities said at least 36 people had been killed and around 4.5 million people stranded so far. The Uvalde city mayor in Texas says the elementary school where a teenage gunman killed 19 children and 2 teachers last month will be demolished.
The officers had weapons, the children had none. The officers had body armor, the children had none.
The mayor's announcement came several hours after a senior Texas official said the law enforcement response to the shooting at Robb Elementary School was an abject failure. In a separate Texas State Senate hearing into the shooting, the director said the on-site commander made terrible decisions and officers at the scene lacked sufficient training, costing valuable time during which lives may have been saved. US regulators have authorized Moderna's 2-dose vaccine for children aged 6 months to 5 years and the Pfizer-BioNTech 3-shot regimen for children aged 6 months to 4 years. It is unclear how many parents will vaccinate their youngest children. According to a survey in May, just 1 in 5 parents with children under the age of 5 said they intended to vaccinate them right away after they become eligible. Only about 29% of children aged 5 to 11 have been fully vaccinated with the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine since it was authorized in October. The European Court of Human Rights block on sending asylum seekers to Rwanda could be overturned by ministers under new proposals. The plan, being introduced to Parliament, would allow ministers to ignore the court's injunctions and let them transport illegal migrants to the African country to seek asylum there. Critics say the proposals are confusing and would create two tiers of rights that hand more power to ministers.
Our plans involve staying within the convention.
But Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab said his proposed Bill of Rights fixed problems with the Human Rights Act without abandoning it altogether. And finally, Glastonbury Festival has opened its gates for the first time in 3 years, while it is also celebrating its 50th anniversary. Famed for its left-wing ethos and often mud-soaked surroundings, the well-respected music event, seen as the pinnacle of Britain's pop calendar, started way back in 1970. Famous musicians from Mick Jagger and David Bowie to Lady Gaga have graced one of the stages. More than 200,000 festival goers will arrive for the event, headlined by Billie Eilish, Sir Paul McCartney and Kendrick Lamar. Tickets for what should have been the 2020 event sold out in just over half an hour. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Senegalese forward Sadio Mane says it was the right moment to join FC Bayern Munich from Liverpool FC after he completed his move to the Bundesliga champions earlier today. Bayern have reportedly paid a fee which could rise to 41 million euros for Mane, who scored 120 goals in his trophy-laden 6 years with Liverpool. The Senegal star has signed a 3-year deal, and his arrival is seen as a coup for Julian Nagelsmann's men and the Bundesliga. Organizers of the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar have announced that about 1.2 million tickets have been sold for this year's tournament, putting the figure on sales for the first time. Chief organizer Hassan Al-Tawadi said there had been record-breaking demands with 40 million requests in the 2 phases of sales for the November-December showpiece. Organizers of the 2022 Women's Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco have launched the official mascot of the tournament named Titrit. Titrit is a Moroccan Berber name which means star or celebrity, and which characterizes a proud, dignified, rigorous and determined person. And the Niger senior national handball male team, the Golden Arrows, are intensifying preparations for the 25th Africa Men Handball Championship, or the 25th edition of the African Men's Handball Championship, which will hold in Egypt from July the 9th to the 19th, will serve as the African qualifying tournament for the 2023 World Men's Handball Championship in Poland and Sweden. And that's a wrap on sports news.
Thanks, Ayatunde. And the main news again. The federal government today said the ongoing industrial action by university lecturers will end soon, as both parties are expected to continue negotiations tomorrow in order to break the deadlock. Also today, the national chairman of the APC, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, met with senators at the National Assembly over the guilt of defection of APC members, especially lawmakers, to opposition parties. That is the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.